everyone, I'm Jia Hwei. Welcome and thank you for joining me. I'd like to share some practical tips on 4 aspects of playing Chopin: legato playing, balance in chords, basic pedaling technique and legato pedaling, and rubato. To illustrate, I'll be using this Chopin Nocturne in G minor, Opus 37 No. 1, which is on the current Grade 8 ABRSM syllabus. I've put this video together with the intermediate and advanced student in mind, and also for any piano tutors who might find them helpful in teaching. I hope you enjoy it. Strictly speaking, the piano is really a percussion instrument, since sound is produced by hammers striking the strings. So it's not possible to create a truly legato line, unlike, say for example, a violin, flute, or the human voice. In order to mask the sound of the attack of each new note, we can deliberately overlap its sound slightly with the sound from the previous note. Here's a short exercise to create a greater sense of legato. I'll play middle C, followed by D, but listen for the sound of the new note before lifting the previous one. For a start, I'll overlap each new note rhythmically, playing up to G and then back to C. When you can do that, try it a little bit smoother, making sure that you listen out for the sound of each new note before you release the previous one. Now, besides the extra legato, we also want a greater depth in the sound to mimic a more bel canto singing tone for the right-hand melody line. Play slowly into the key to reduce the sound of the initial attack of each note, almost like you're giving the key a massage. We'll need some arm weight, but make sure that you keep your wrists relaxed. Now try this with the opening few notes of the Chopin Nocturne. As a pianist, the 5th finger of the right hand has to be the strongest one, as it often carries the melody. Imagine if most of us were left-handed, the piano would be flipped from right to left. Most of the exercises that we do train for equality of strength and independence in all our very differently formed fingers. I'll demonstrate an exercise to bring out different voices within a chord of multiple notes. Let's take the first right-hand chord of the chorale in the middle section. It's a tonic triad in E flat. You could play it in a higher register to hear it more clearly. Since the melody is in the top part of the chord, our aim is to play the B flat at the top louder than the other 2 notes. There are 3 notes in the chord, but let's start with just 2 first, say E flat and B flat. Keeping the bridge of the hand firm, play B flat loudly, then E flat softly. Then do this in quicker succession until it sounds like an acciaccatura, and then finally together. It reminds me of a word game in Sesame Street, which is a children's television program I used to watch when I was a kid. They split the word up and gradually put it together like this. K-at, 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 cat. Now try this with just G and B flat. And then finally, with all three notes together. Just as an exercise, try bringing out the other notes in the chord. When you're more familiar with the feeling of placing weight behind different fingers within a chord, try bringing out each note gradually. Repeat the chord a number of times, each time feeling a greater weight behind the note that you want to bring out. So I'll do a crescendo on the B flat. A little trick is to physically fix the finger that you want to be louder to be slightly lower than the other fingers, so that it plays the note just a fraction quicker and deeper into the key. Something like that I used to play the B flat. But you want to be careful not to exploit this to the extent that the chord doesn't actually sound together. In the case of this particular chorale-like passage, try and find a fingering which will allow for a legato top line. Here's a useful way to practice combining the legato top line and the changing harmonies below. Play the legato top line loudly whilst playing the detached lower notes softly, like this. This will help with balance and hearing the music in a more horizontal line rather than thinking of them as vertical chords. In this video, I'll speak about basic pedaling technique and legato pedaling. Since most piano pieces up to grade 8 ABRSM level only require use of the sustaining pedal, I'll demonstrate its use today. If the pedal will be used in the piece, as in the case of this Chopin nocturne, the foot should be prepared over the pedal before you begin. The other foot should be placed slightly back to keep your body balanced. The heel should always be touching the ground. We pedal with the ball of the foot, not the big toe. In this resting position, your foot or shoe should be in contact with the pedal at all times. This will prevent stamping on the pedal You can hear the contact between the shoe and the pedal if you do that. And when you release the pedal, make sure that the foot or shoe maintains contact and aim for controlled release at the top. Avoid releasing the pedal suddenly and lifting the shoe off as it comes up with a loud clonk. As a rule, we pedal only after the note has been sounded. Always listen to the sound of the note before engaging the pedal. If you depress the pedal at the same time as you play your note, it amplifies the sound of the internal mechanics within the piano moving. Here's an exercise in legato pedaling. Play a series of ascending triads from middle C. Play the first triad, and after you hear the note sound, depress the pedal. Keeping the foot down, play the next triad. When you hear the new sound, lift the pedal to the top, whilst keeping the foot in contact with the pedal at all times. Then, depress it again. Try this for a few more triads. Now, try this rhythmically in 4, playing the chord on the first beat, releasing the pedal on the second, then depressing it on the third. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you can do that, try it again, still counting in 4, but changing the pedal soon after you hear the sound of each new triad. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In most piano pieces, as it is in this Chopin nocturne, the changes in pedal usually coincide with the changes in harmony in the left-hand accompaniment. So, once you have decided on the pedaling, practice coordinating it with left hand. The literal translation of the Italian word rubato means to rob or to steal. Within the context of classical music, it's used especially in music composed during and after the Romantic Age, approximately the 1820s until 1900. That encompasses the music of composers such as Chopin, Liszt, Schumann, and Brahms. Rubato refers to the slight flexibility of time in response to the expressiveness of the music. Take the first line of the nocturne, for example. It begins quite solemnly and plaintively, with a decorated falling scale in the melody, almost like a sigh. In the second phrase, there is a rising scale in the melody, with an increase in the rate of harmonic change, from chord 1 to 4, and then a modulation to B flat major, which is the relative major. I'll play this in time. Now, to bring out the forward momentum of this rising scale and its changing harmony, I could play it a touch quicker, but having stolen time from the start of this phrase, I could then give it back in the second half as it resolves in a new tonality. I'll play the same phrase, but now with some rubato. I can apply this in the next phrase, using the ascending scale in bar 7 for momentum, and then releasing the tension at the end of the phrase by relaxing the tempo. Another place where use of rubato would be stylistic is where there are many grace notes to play. Look at bar 36, for example. A good rule to remember with Chopin is that the more decorative grace notes you have to play, the slower you play them. Don't play them all in strict time with a metronome during your concert. It would be way too fast to try and get your fingers around all the notes, and it wouldn't be a stylistic way of interpreting the music. However, veering to the other extreme and adding too much rubato would be gauche. My tutor once used an analogy of a tree swaying in the breeze as a metaphor for tempo that could be gently bent. However, if the wind is too strong, that tree would snap or break. So avoid drastic changes of speed, as that could make your music sound a little seasick. Having said that, I should add that there's no one-sized formula for interpreting rubato, just as there isn't only one correct way of playing any piece of music. Listen to as many interpretations as you can, and to other nocturnes by Chopin. Try it out for yourself, and you can decide what sounds tasteful. We've come to the end of this video, but I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. Please leave me any comments or questions to the email or Facebook link at the beginning of this video. Thank you and bye.